More and more English language teaching is taking place online these days in groups and one-to-one. Now, the principles of teaching and learning remain the same across all contexts. But when we teach English online, new challenges arise that we need to deal with. And we do need to adapt the approach that we take in the face-to-face classroom to a digital classroom.
People are studying in their home environment, in their living room, in their car. I had one lady working from her car, she wasn't driving.
On this course, Teaching English Online, we'll help you to understand how to teach an effective lesson online. We'll begin the course by thinking about the market. We'll think about the learners that you might teach and what might be expected of you as an online tutor.
The crucial elements of any online lesson are the teacher, the student, and a way to see them and hear them. Those are the basics.
We'll tell you about the equipment you need to get started and the platforms that you might want to use. We'll also suggest resources and tools that you can exploit in and out of lessons.
So you have to understand your platform and how it works before you start. And then ideally, you should have a practice with somebody else on the other end.
We'll give you some practical strategies for developing a good rapport with learners and helping to motivate them throughout a lesson, because these things can be more difficult online than they are face-to-face. And we'll give examples using teachers who are teaching online today.
I build rapport with my online learners in very much the same way as I would do with a regular face-to-face class. So lots of encouragement and motivation and praise.
We'll also look at how we can help learners to develop receptive and productive skills. We'll suggest different lesson structures for different types of lessons and activities that can help learners to develop different sub-skills. Finally, we'll think about how we can teach language online. You'll have ideas and advice on how to set context, how to clarify language and check understanding, how to give practice, and how to error correct online.
Because there's a distance between us, I think it's important to try and get to know the learners individually as much as possible.
By the end of the course, you'll be able to transfer the skills you have in the face-to-face classroom to a digital classroom, so that you can produce really effective lessons for the learners you teach and help them to develop their English skills.
A successful online lesson is a lesson where your student goes away knowing something they didn't know at the beginning, or being able to do something they couldn't do at the beginning.
My name's Lindsay Warwick and I'm a teacher and trainer based here in Cambridge in the UK, and I'd like to invite you to join our course Teaching English Online. I very much hope to see you there.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Please write in the chat if you can see me and if you can hear me clearly. Say hi, or yeah, put a plus. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I see a lot of people are here today. Hello, yes, hi. Well, we are all on lockdown now, right? We also held this webinar last week and it wasn't exactly clear how things are going to happen. So this week everyone is at home for sure. So I hope you are doing fine with all the online teaching, and I hope you're not as stressed out as we all were last week and week before when we had to turn to teaching online, because it's actually quite stressful. Yeah, so honestly speaking, for everyone. So today we will talk about teaching English online, about some basics and some other resources and materials that I hope will be useful. And I hope that the stresses of the first weeks are gone and you can slowly move to trying new things. If you're still starting, there'll be also a lot of material for you to, you know, to help you to start with Zoom specifically. But first, let me say a few words about myself so you know who I am. So my name is Екатерина Редькина. I'm a psychologist originally, and my second education is English teacher. But I've never worked as a psychologist, and I've been teaching English to different groups of students for about 14 years already. So, and here I'm going to talk about online teaching based on my experience, because I started teaching online about 2 or 3 years ago. I implemented some techniques, and I also held webinars and some teacher trainings online, so I do have experience, and what is happening now is not exactly new for me. So before we start and before I tell you what's going to happen, we've prepared a small test for you. So let's try to see what kind of audience we're having here. So it's a small poll that should appear now on the screen if everything works. If it doesn't work, no worries. We're trying it out also. Right, so you'll have about 3 minutes, and these are the questions for me to understand what background you come from and what experience you have so far. Okay, so please answer the questions, and then we'll proceed to the webinar itself. You don't need to write now in the chat. As far as I understand, you should be able to to give answers straight in the poll itself. Some people can do that, right? Okay, that's very interesting. Okay. So far, I see that we have people working with many different ages, a lot of university students. Hello, colleagues, because currently I'm teaching. One of the places I am working at is Moscow State University, the Faculty of Psychology. I teach English to psychology students. A lot of people working with teens. Hello there as well. I work with teens too. And young learners, not specifically my area, but things I'm going to talk about are applicable for young learners as well. Okay, how long have you been teaching? A lot of answers here. Okay, let's wait just another minute for me to have more or less a full picture. So from what I see now is teaching online, most people answered under 1 year, though we have some experienced teachers more than 5 years. That's amazing. So as for Zoom, we do have people mostly who know nothing or know little. That's good for me because I will know how to adapt what I'm going to talk about. Okay. And about Cambridge resources, it looks like you do know a little bit. That's great. Yeah, I do see people write in chat. Thank you. Okay. Okay, a few more seconds. I think the picture is quite clear. So we have different backgrounds of ages. Most people are not so experienced with teaching online. That's why you're here, apparently. That's good. And with Zoom, okay, no little, no nothing. Fine. We'll hopefully it will be useful for everyone. Okay. So right, let me stop it now. The picture is clear. So here are the results. I think you can see them now. So different ages here. I was more interested in your online experience, and we see that most people are not so experienced. And as for Zoom, I was also very much interested here in this slide. Right, so let's start. Okay, hopefully, yes. Okay, so the plan for today. I will talk as a psychologist a little bit at the beginning about moving to distance learning and teaching online, because there are some psychological processes that are very important to mention from the side of both the teacher and the student, okay? And we'll talk about some techniques how to overcome difficulties if you haven't overcome them yourselves already, because we're staying at home for a while. So then I'll talk about MOOC. It's a huge educational platform I've been using myself. Then we'll mention and we'll talk actually not even mention, but talk in detail about Zoom and how to start Zoom lessons and what techniques I've been using over the last 2 weeks. Then I will mention some miscellaneous resources that I find useful also for teaching. So basically you can start teaching using them tomorrow in your teaching. And then Cambridge apps and Cambridge resources. Okay. Yeah, so if you have a bad connection, I'm sorry. Everything should be working. We checked it before. So if something is wrong, basically try to upload the page once again. Anyway, there will be the recording and you will get it after the webinar, okay? So let's start with talking about challenges and difficulties from the point of view of teaching. So what I have noticed so far is that when you teach online, most students have poorer concentration. And as for me, yesterday I was participating as a student actually, and I was at the webinar from one of my colleagues, and I understood myself that my concentration is not as good as it could be if I was face-to-face. So poor concentration is just a fact. You need to accept it. Because of the bigger distance between you and the students, it's much more difficult to sort of control this, distance, and it's difficult to get sort of the grasp of their attention. And in class, you can come close, you can even touch them, you can, I don't know, with your voice, physically, you can do something here. We don't have all these techniques, and so students seem to be more passive. But again, it's kind of logical, and you shouldn't be worried about this very much. Also, you might see students who are not very willing to communicate. There will be always students who don't want to use their cameras because they are shy, or they don't want to show their room, or something. Well, it's up to you to establish the rules. As for me, I ask everyone to use the camera unless it's broken. And I explain why, because it's much more comfortable to talk to a real person, at least to the face, rather than to a black screen. And they all agree with that. And also, I'm saying that I'm not interested in the way they look and so on. So you might ask them to switch on cameras for certain exercises first, activities, and then when they get more comfortable, they will probably turn it on for the whole class. Some teachers tend to think that it's too much fun. And also students think that, oh, we're studying online, it's fun, let's have even more fun, let's play all the time. Well, it might be the case, and it's also okay. And you can play games, a lot of games online. And I think that it's not a big of a problem if your students are having fun. At least they are coming and they are participating. So I do use some games with my students so they kind of feel more relaxed. It turns out that we talk more. So there is higher teacher talking time in online classes, or at least there is a tendency to that, because teachers want to control it. They get stressed. We don't know exactly what is happening there. Some mics go off, cameras go off, something is not working. So we try to control everything with the voice. It's also fine, though I recommend here to kind of get a little bit more relaxed, and you don't need to talk in every single pause that appears. That there could be some silent moments, and you don't need to try to save every situation. Things will go wrong, and they will. So just have plan B for that, okay? Classroom management can be tricky here. I'm sure you've noticed over the weeks. And some technicalities appear, so you might have, again, plan B as, let's say I'm using my mobile internet, so I use my phone as a hotspot. And if my router connection, like my Wi-Fi goes off, I can have classes from my phone internet. Not very comfortable, but at least I might have this. So instructional strategies, I've mentioned a few, but sort of to sum it up, you need to attract your students' attention as much as possible. Because they get distracted by everything, by their favorite toys. If you were talking about young learners, teens get distracted by, I don't know, noises, chat, messages on Instagram or on WhatsApp from their friends. So you need to attract attention, and for this you might want to switch activities quite often, or find activity that is most engaging. Because for different groups, I've noticed different things work. And some students are willing to talk in groups or small, like in pairs together. Others don't like talking. But yesterday I found out that my group can do collaborative writing on a Google file. I'll mention it a little bit later. So amazingly, they were all engaged, and we had to prolong the class for another 10 minutes, which is a really rare thing, because I found something they are willing to do. So they were writing together. That was fun. Second point, super important, prepare all materials beforehand. Like, open everything up, because there'll be no time. And if they see you get distracted and you're looking for something on your computer, they will use this pause to do something else. You will see them with their phones immediately. You will see them doing something else. Kids will start playing with toys. So get everything uploaded and prepared. From my experience, you need to plan more. And the time of planning actually is quite challenging for me. I don't know how to build my day around it yet, but I'm working on it. So planning might take time, as if you were back to your, CELTA times, or these times when you only started teaching, when you really planned every single thing. It's fine, do plan it. It will be easier with time. My answer here, my sort of tip, is that I use similar exercises or similar activities for different groups. So I try to plan not more around the book now, but rather around the activities and the skills and the things I want them to do, because it saves my time in this way. Manage your time. Here it's very important to manage the time of your day, and to make sure that your day is well planned, and you don't spend all the time teaching and then recovering from teaching or preparing for the next class. You need to have something else in your day, and that's super important. Change activities and pace. I mentioned this. I've mentioned this already. So pace should be quite good for the teaching, and activities should be changing, not like every single minute, but they need to be engaged. Of course, it's not a lecture, it's always a class, they are engaged, but maybe find something that is something they like, okay? So then, I think that teaching online is a good chance for us now to teach academic skills and teach academic habits, sort of develop these habits in our students, because online teaching will only develop with future. And obviously, when our students have this experience of learning online now, in future, it will help them. So it's all for good, I think. So to minimize TTT, as I said, don't try to fill in and get into every pause that appears, and try to minimize frontal explanations. Ask students to explain something, peer correction, peer explanation. Try to elicit from them. So basically do all things you do in class. Don't try to control everything here, though there is a probably strong wish to do it. Accuracy, fluency. There is according to from what my colleagues say, and from what I've noticed, there is a better chance, and there is a higher chance to develop accuracy with teaching online rather than fluency, because you can work on grammar mistakes and some language problems. Fluency is not exactly the best thing to develop online, though it's possible. So if you also feel that you focus more on accuracy, it's fine. Let it be something as your personal goal. Develop accuracy in your students. When we all get back to face-to-face, we will turn to fluency more. So I think it's also good. And if we talk about, for example, teenagers who will want to have fun and maybe get themselves into trouble in your classes, well, I would suggest being very accepting to what's happening, being tolerant and being curious, because I learn from my teams as well. And actually, teenagers are better with technology than most of the teachers. So why not to ask them, how to use this? What do you think we can do with that? Let's try this function. Let's try that function. And they will be happy to teach you, honestly. They will be happy. However, don't forget that you are still the authority in the classroom and you need to be the boss, okay? If you say, guys, turn on the cameras, you need to make sure that they do that. Turn off the mics, turn on the mics. Again, you are still the boss, though on a friendly terms, let's put it this way. Okay, Okay, there is a question in chat that opening, uploading beforehand. The more files and sites are open, the slower was the connection, I've noticed. Okay, I can agree with that, though I haven't noticed that. Probably that depends on your connection, the browser you use. Zoom is actually has the most stable connection, and Zoom uses the least operational memory on your computer. So what you may do, let's say, you can also have all your files somewhere online and have one link that is easy to access in some notes or in a Word file. So then you follow the link and you have everything there sort of piled for your students. So somehow get it prepared, or a separate folder or something. So there are ways. I can agree with this. So then you have to sort of adapt to your situation, right? So I now want you to make notes in the chat about challenges and difficulties for you personally, what you've noticed so far. So we've been working online for a week or two. I'm actually here for the 3rd week already. It's my 3rd week in lockdown. So what challenges have you experienced? As for me, I struggle with planning my day so that I do not work all the time, because it looks like I'm working all the time. I don't have any other things to do. How to organize groups in Zoom, we'll talk about this in a few minutes. Problems with cheating, that's interesting. Can you say a few more words? What kind of cheating you mean? Okay, problems with 8-10-year-old students, very slow and passive. Okay, let's, well, I can't exactly say why is this. Maybe they don't know how to work. Maybe actually bad connection can contribute to this. Students don't feel very motivated when they can't hear you well. Maybe you need to add more games. There will be lots of resources today, so I would probably ask you at the end whether you want to use them or not. I was more asking about challenges and difficulties for you as teachers, not in teaching, you know, though teaching, of course, is important. Students start writing on the screen when they shouldn't. Well, ask them not to. You can actually block them in Zoom so they don't have access to writing on the screen anything. Planning, yes, takes a lot of time. Reorganize, it's difficult to reorganize my life. Yeah, a lot of workload. I understand. Students play tricks in Zoom. Well, okay, if these tricks are not, you know, violent, not so how to say, bad ones, well, have fun with them maybe, or try to learn also some tricks so you kind of surprise them. Being interactive, that's a challenge. Yes, we will, again, I will offer something, hopefully it will help. Very young students, discipline, I can understand. So discipline usually appears from the psychological point of view when students are bored, okay? Or when they think it's all about playing games. So give them something that they will be fully involved and set roles, so someone is doing something, so they feel more responsible for what is happening in the classroom. Okay, I hope we will get back to your problems through the webinar, okay? Let's look at things I thought as challenges for teachers and how to overcome them. If something else you still have, we can discuss this, okay? So as for teachers, I've noticed that this new regime is quite difficult for teachers to adapt to because, well, we're not accustomed to working so much online, right? So some people told me that they've lost balance between work and family life, me time, where I'm relaxing, where I'm working, so what's happening in my life. Time management, so you plan 1 hour, it turns out to be 1.5 hours or something else. So time management is not working very well for many people. New technical skills, for many people, it's a challenge as well. Teachers mention low physical activity because we do sit a lot, honestly, right? high anxiety and stress that I hope it's now sort of going down, because we see that it's fine. We've all survived. We're working online and, well, it's manageable. So I think anxiety last week probably was higher than this week, but still it is there. So let me finish with my help yourself strategies, and then I look in the chat to address what you were writing, okay? So I've read a lot of things on from psychologists who give advice on how to adapt to real, to this situation. It's not rocket science, it's quite obvious, and I'm sure you're probably doing half of this, but still I want to mention a few things. So planning your day. Plan your day in the morning or the day before, so you know what you will be doing and how many things you need to sort of fit in. I use online trackers and also some apps for tracking my things I need to do, so checklists or something. And there is also such a thing as closed checklists. It means checklists of certain amount of things that you will do, and you know you will do them during this day. So you don't plan everything, like 20 things. You plan only those 7 things you know you will do, and it helps you to sort of track your progress during the day. And I'm not talking about work only. I'm talking about, I don't know, watching even a series. I'm talking about something that helps you to relax and not to burn out, okay? We want to finish this quarantine with a lot of energy, not being fully exhausted. Then rituals. I'm talking about rituals that we all use when we go to work every day. So the idea here is to trick your brain to believe that actually you're working as if nothing has happened. So if you do your, I don't know, if you have your morning coffee or like shower, makeup or something else, the rituals you have, try to follow the same more or less rituals, that then your brain will think, oh, okay, I'm in a working mode, so fine, I will do what should be done. Air the room, obviously, right? Do the exercises between the classes. That is what helping me a lot. Another thing is zoning your flat. So it's not a good idea to work in bed, for example, but I think you already know that, because it actually leads to some sleep problems rather than, it doesn't influence your work so much, it rather influences other areas of your life, right? So it's better to have a certain area where you work, and this is the, then it will be strongly associated with work, and so you go there, you concentrate, you start working, so your table, your area for work is super important. Then, low anxiety, and do not try to control everything with any means that are working for you. You can do yoga, you can do meditation, you can do whatever. Find things that make your life brighter and happier. Otherwise, again, burnout is can happen very quickly. And take it slowly, you know. I mean, don't try to use everything. Don't try to use as many resources. And okay, if there are disciplinary problems, if there are some other problems with your students, accept them for now and try to work on those slowly and see how things progress in a week, for example. I mean, some things cannot be solved very quickly. Kids need to adapt as well, right? So be careful there. So, okay, let me look in the chat. Yes, you'll get the recording of the webinar and a certificate also. Use internet resources when they are asked to express their own opinion. What exactly the question here? I'm not sure. So students unwilling to talk, and it takes a lot of time for them to turn on the microphone. Well, in Zoom, you can control the microphone yourself and you can turn it for them if it takes a lot of time. If they are unwilling to talk, well, you have to probably figure out why they don't want to talk. Maybe the topic is simply not interesting. Maybe they don't want to work in the pairs you put them in. So do some diagnostics, ask them why they don't want to talk. And people also don't want to talk in class sometimes. What would you do with that? So the strategies might be the same. For young learners, I would suggest the idea of physical exercises in the middle of the lesson. Yes, that's true, physical exercises. I know some of my colleagues are asking their teens, as well as adults, to stand up after 45 minutes of class and do something physical. Well, that's also possible. Sounds very nice to me. Well, now let's look at the platform I promised to talk about. So this is futurelearn.com. I'm sure you're familiar with this site. It's a huge platform for learning online. It has lots of courses, but the one I would like to mention here is Teaching English Online, obviously. It's a quite, well, it's a packed course with lots of things there. A lot of things on raising your awareness about online teaching, things about your beliefs, things about discipline as well, also things about instruments. So please remember Teaching English Online on futurelearn.com. And I'm on this course now, and I will show you a few activities from this course, so you kind of can decide for yourself whether you need it or not. So there will be a lot on different skills and how to teach these skills online. So, for example, last week or the week before even, there was a big block on teaching speaking, on monitoring language, giving feedback, encouraging participation. There were things on teaching reading, teaching writing and listening, so all of that. And there are different things that, you know, you will study here. So let's look at these reading skills, and you will tell me whether you think these sentences are true or false. Okay, so there are 4 sentences, true or false. You can write true, true, false, false, TTFF, or some other. So have a look. Let's compare teaching online and teaching face-to-face. You can write it in the chat. Yes, there is a question if it's free. Yes, participation in the course is absolutely free, though if you want to get the certificate, you need to pay a certain fee. Thank you. So true, false, true, true. Let's have a look. Yeah, some more people. Everything is true. Some people say false, false, true, true. Okay. Thank you for participating. Okay, so let me say a few things here. So the structure of a reading lesson is different in an online lesson. Well, it's actually false. So people who said it's false are right, because the structure doesn't need to be different. The activities that you use could be different, though the structure can be absolutely the same, with pre-reading, reading, post-reading exercises, the way you're used to teach in like normal class. So number 2, young learners are more likely to read text in the lesson. That is true. That is true, because with young learners, you can, it's about their age and motivation and cognitive development. So it's quite difficult to make them read, you know, after the lesson. So, and you cannot control it. And sometimes parents cannot help with that because they don't speak English. So young learners can read texts online, right? Whereas adults, number 3, are more likely to read texts in the lesson. This is false, because adults are absolutely fine with reading texts on their own, and they can work with gist reading, with reading for details on their own, because they can control it, they are self-reflexive, they have enough motivation, or at least they have study skills developed to do that. So you don't need to spend time during the lesson. It doesn't mean you shouldn't. You might if you want, but you don't have to, okay? And if the lesson focus is reading for specific information, the learners can do the reading in class. Well, this one, it's actually, it might depend, and some people, I think some people wrote that it depends. However, reading for, well, whatever reading you decide to do, for example, reading for gist is better to do online in class, because then you can limit the timing, and they will read it quickly, and they will sort of do the task quickly because you ask them to. Specific information is usually something more time consuming. That's why I would probably say that yes, reading for specific information is better to be done at home, on their own, okay? But again, it doesn't mean you cannot do this type of reading in class. So a few other things that you will see on this course. This is an example of a task with, you see the table where you see different platform features, and there will be video clips where people share how they use these features. So basically you will need to figure out how these features were used by these people in the video. So you will see the examples of lessons. So there are a few techniques you might find new or interesting and you can borrow. So you can also have something like this where you see an example of teachers working, and this is a work in progress. So this girl is drawing pieces of clothing for your younger learner. Apparently it's one-to-one class, and she's drawing clothes, but it's fun. The boy likes it. So what I'm saying is that there will be examples of real things happening in the classrooms all over the world on this course, on Future Learn. So I think it's a good thing. That's it about Future Learn. It was just a sneak peek into the course, highly recommended. And now we'll talk about Zoom. From the poll at the beginning, I've learned that not many people are experienced in Zoom. If you already know how to do it, there will be some basics that we'll go through quickly. If you don't know, well, this is your time to sort of make notes maybe and remember what are the steps. So I should say from the beginning that there are free options in Zoom and the paid ones. I use the paid version because I've been using Zoom for more than a year already, and I don't always know which options are for free. I try to read the list of things, but some teachers say that they still have it in a free version. So I would probably recommend go and check if you have the options I'm mentioning or not, but most of them are actually they exist in the free version. The main difference is the limit in time. If you don't pay for Zoom subscription, the limit of your lesson is 40 or 45 minutes. If you do pay, then it's endless. You can have your lesson forever if you wish to. So now let's look at Zoom. So the first thing you need to create is your personal account here. Everything here is in Russian because I thought that would be more useful. If you use English version, if you go down to the main page on Zoom, zoom.com, you can change language and switch it to Russian, or basically it doesn't matter. It's all the same interface. So you go to zoom.com and you create your personal account. What you do next? You plan the conference. Conference is actually your lesson. They're called conferences here, but these are the lessons you teach every day. So you hit that button, plan the conference, and you name your conference. Here I have test 1 just for for convenience, but the theme, the topic is usually the group you're teaching. And don't forget to have the name, because otherwise it will be difficult to look through and to find the lesson you need. You don't need to create lessons for every single class of yours. You create these conferences. You can create one for one group and it will repeat. I will tell you now how to do that. So give the name, then choose the time. So for example, like the date, the time that you choose here should not be exactly the one that you start your lesson. It could be around that time. So if you started a little bit early or late, it's still fine. So as far as I understand, time is necessary for you to sort of schedule your lessons and not to mess up with that. Again, the length also, if it could be 2 hours, it's still fine, though even if you put 1 hour and 30 minutes here. So if you want your conference or your lesson to repeat, you put a tick in the last box here, so the conference is being repeated. What does it mean? You choose whether it should be repeated every day, if you have lesson with the group every day, or maybe weekly, and then you choose the days of the week. Let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and how many weeks you want them to repeat. Maybe till May, maybe till June, maybe till September, whatever, right? So you choose all that. It's all very quick. Then password for the conference. You can enter it manually, choose the password you want, maybe the school number or the class number or something. Also, you might have no password at all if you don't want your students to bother. Recently, I stopped using passwords. I use them with adults. With teens, I simply give them the link. And another option I would strongly recommend here really is the sort of waiting room. You see at the bottom there is a tick. What does it mean? When you enter the conference or your lesson, I think that as a teacher you need some time to kind of, you know, get yourself ready. And if your students are already there, maybe you don't feel that comfortable. So maybe you want to check that everything is working, you want to check the camera, the microphone. So what I do, I turn on the waiting room, and all students already come to the conference, but they don't exactly come into the webinar room. They are somewhere in between in the waiting room, and then you accept them and they all come in, and then you start your lesson. I like this, but it's up to you to decide whether you need it or not. Then when you've planned all this, you save the conference, and if you want to start your lesson, you need to hit this button, start the conference, obviously. And before that, of course, you need to send the invitation. Otherwise, you're going to be alone at your own lesson, and we don't want that. So copy the invitation. The invitation, actually, it's a huge piece of text that tells you about time zones in different areas and something. I don't think you need that for your students if you are teaching them in Russia, in the same city, in the same town. So basically, you need this link and the identification number, which actually is the last digits of the link, okay? Why do you need identification number? Some students follow the link. Some students can enter from the site, and then the site will ask them for identification number. So these are just two ways. I'll show you how it looks later, okay? So send them two things, the link and the ID, okay, to enter the conference. So now we're starting the conference. That's an imaginary conference from me. You don't see my face here because you already see me today, it's enough. And you can change the profile picture, by the way, as well. So the most important things that you need here, bottom left, the microphone and the video, and this is where you turn them on, turn them off. If you want to change the profile picture, I mean the background picture, now you see my real bookshelves, but if I don't want you to see that, I would probably put my favorite picture of White Cliffs of Dover there. And you can do this under this button near video, right? I hope you see my cursor here. So there you can change the virtual background, okay? Then here you will see important button where all the participants are. Now there are no participants, but because I didn't invite anyone here, I was the only one. But if you see more people, you will see them here, participants and the number of them. If they come in through the waiting room, as I mentioned earlier, you will accept them also here. You will say, yes, please come in. There is a button and everyone comes in. And you see them here to the right, like everyone who is here. The most important thing, and probably your tool number one, is under the green button, which says screen demonstration, okay? Depending probably on your computer or the interface, the green button can be on the top or at the bottom. Usually it's at the bottom. Well, find it. Demonstration of the screen. Also, what you have under these three buttons here, three dots, you have chat, which is very important. And also you have breakout rooms or rooms where you can put students into groups to talk. Very useful thing. I will also say how to do that. So breakout rooms work this way. You in the previous slide. You click here, session rooms or breakout rooms. Then you see this picture. And now you have 0 participants. Well, because we do have 0 participants in the room. Let's imagine we have 10 people or 9 students. And manually I say, okay, I want 3 rooms or 2 rooms. And I can put them automatically, or I will put them manually. If manually, then, for example, I want 9 rooms, so I don't know how many. Manually, it means that you hit this blue button here, allocate, and then you will tick, okay, Kate goes with Jane, and Bob goes with Mark, and so on, okay? So you allocate each group manually, or do it automatically, then everyone goes whatever, right? So then you say add the room, the breakout room or rooms, and this is it. So what you can do with these rooms, you can put students into small groups of 3 or 4. Bigger than that is not very comfortable, honestly, from my experience. So you can give the same tasks to all of the groups, and then you actually one by one will come to each group and you will check what's happening there. You cannot be present in all the rooms at the same time, which is, well, it makes sense, right? It's the same as in the classroom. You can't hear everyone at the same time. You usually monitor and come to a particular group of students, couple of students. The same here. You come in, you listen, you make notes maybe somewhere manually. So I use a pen and a notebook. And then I go to another room, then next one, then when everything finishes, I give feedback for everyone. Also, you can give separate tasks for each group, and then they need to come up with a certain decision, or they need to sum up their piece of text, or they need to present certain material to other groups. And when they come back, each group will present something different. So it's something like information gap activity, a little bit. Also, and I've tried this, worked nicely with teens and with university students. You create one breakout room where you take students one by one to have some speaking activity individually. It works with smaller groups, obviously. What happens with the rest of the group? They are not doing nothing, obviously. You give them a task. Last time, what I did, I asked them to check their homework and to mark things that they had questions about. They tried to help each other. I have 6 people in a group. So, and I was taking one by one. They were presenting their home assignment, which was a text summary, oral text summary. So we worked individually, then the person came back and they continued doing something. First, they started with the home task, then I gave them something else. So these are the options with breakout rooms. Please use that, that's very helpful. So a demonstration of the screen now, the main function that everyone should learn how to use. So when you hit that green button, you will see the following thing. Normally you see the first one is always this screen with your desktop, then whiteboard, then 2 other things you actually don't need, and then all other windows that are open on your computer. Here there was a Think students book that we use with my teens in one of my groups. This arrow here shows a very important small box which should be ticked when you want to share a video or an audio with your students. So let's imagine you want to show them a video, or short one, let's say 2-minute video on something. You share your screen because it's on your screen of the computer, and you put a tick here, shared use of sound. Through this, the sound that comes from your computer goes better to them. And I've checked with my students, there is a difference. So if I forget to tick, or if I do tick, actually they say they hear it better. I'm not talking about the quality of connection now, because if the internet connection is not very strong, then it's not going to help. But usually it helps. So the whiteboard, a very interesting and very effective instrument. So what you can do here, so this is a whiteboard that you demonstrate through your like through Zoom, you can type here. You can put certain stamps like tick, cross, hearts, stars. You can draw here, and all these instruments appear under this, you see this sort of a marker button, and you hit this button and you have all the instruments. So how I use the whiteboard? I use it for feedback, mostly to give feedback to my students after homework correction, or after, I don't know, speaking in groups. So any feedback I want to give, I do write it here. Also, we can draw here, and students also have an option to draw and write on this board as well. To turn on this option, they need to find commentaries, like box with commentaries from their screens. I cannot show here because this is the screen of the teacher, not the students. But your students can find this option, leave comments on the board, and then they can write there as well. And you can write wrong phrases, for example, and they need to put a tick or a cross, say if they're right or wrong, and then you give them a few minutes to correct everything on the whiteboard from your computer. So basically you're sharing the screen and give them a right to leave comments there. So I like this one as well. Also, you can share any other file that you have in your computer. It could be Word file. Here it's Word file with pictures that I put, pictures that illustrate words from our last lesson. There was a text we read with our students on the history of cinematography. So these are some words that we were, active words. So you show them pictures, ask them to name, let's say. Again, through screen demonstration, through the green button. When I want to stop the demonstration, I will hit this red huge button here, stop sharing screen, and then you go back to the main screen on Zoom. Okay, so game that I played also through the shared screen is very famous, and I'm sure you know it. Kids like it, teens like it, even adults like it. Hangman. And Hangman, this one is online. So what you do, you go to hangmanwords.com, you create, basically type in words you want to play with. It could be 1 to 20, and the program creates this, game for you, and you basically save the link. And when the lesson starts, you through this link go to this site, open the page, and share the screen of this page with your students. So you see my students on the right, and you see that we are playing, and they give you the letters, the name of the letters. I hit the letter, and we see that whether it's wrong or not. Okay, and then next word, next word, next word. This is how you can check spelling with young learners. This is how you can check vocabulary with teens. So there are some options, and it's all online, which I think is good, right? So hangmanwords.com. Write it down for you, okay? Save it. Then speaking activity. Speaking activity that we've also tried. I did it last week with my learners, also teenagers. Can be adapted for university, for adults, and for younger learners as well, with pictures only. So this is wheel that is actually online. It is turning, and you spin it. And I demonstrate the screen of this site, and online the wheel is turning. I created it beforehand, obviously myself, and for every student there is a new task or a new question. So this one was about online, using internet, using Facebook, Instagram, and everything. So for example, how often, how and where do you use the internet? So that was the question for one student. Then, and I spin it again, and another question goes to another student. So how did I create that? Yes, exactly. Where can we find this spin? Good question. So wordwall.net. This is the site with a lot of resources. Honestly, I haven't tried, I don't know, I like most of them yet. So you see all these small variants of activities. This is everything that they offer. You have for free, I think, 5 resources, like you can create 5 different activities. So I've tried only the random wheel so far. That was the one I showed you. So for younger learners, you can create a wheel with pictures only. And so they need to describe the picture, for example, describe an animal or name the animal. You spin it and they name it. So you create the wheel beforehand, save the link somewhere again. During the lesson, you share the screen where you open this link on your computer, you share this wheel, spin it. They love it, actually. It's fun. And you give them these questions or pictures to describe or something, okay? They can do peer correction later, you can give feedback, and so on. As I'm saying, it is free for a limited number of activities that you create. After that, you need to pay. So you can start... I also think they have a trial period for some days. So try from the beginning, see if you like it, and then if you really love it, you can pay. Okay. So wordwall.net. Yes, I love it. Another thing that I was using last week with my university students, creating word clouds online. This is an interesting thing to do, but you need probably students who are more experienced with technology. I mean, young learners, it wouldn't probably work. Teens and older than that, fine. So you go to answergarden.ch. I don't have exact manual how to do it here, but actually I have a short video on my Instagram. You will see my Instagram at the end of the presentation, so you can go and check it out. The whole idea, you create a space online where students can fill in their words. The words can be absolutely different. Let's say you have a certain topic and you want your students to write all the associations for this topic. Or here, we were talking about unusual people and people with quite rare abilities. And I asked my university students to type in all the words that are associated with uniqueness, you see, like rare, special, remarkable. The thing I love about this is that it all happens online. So they type a word and it appears on the screen. A new one appears again. Everyone is doing it at the same time, and words just appear. The bigger the word, the more people put it in. So basically you see that the words unusual, rare, unique, extraordinary are quite popular among my students. And words that were mentioned once, you can actually see whether this is active vocabulary they need to learn, and no one could remember that or not. So what I did, they were creating this word cloud within a certain time limit. Then I saved this picture, not saved, like I had it open on my screen. They came back to Zoom and I shared my screen. We all were looking at this word cloud and we discussed it. There were also some spelling mistakes here. We discussed those. Some people didn't know some words, so we discussed those. So there is something you can do with word clouds as well. Okay, people asked, yeah, the previous site was wordwall.net, okay? So this one is Answer Garden. Try it. You should love it, actually. Okay, another thing I discovered last week, and I've just started using it, is creating polls online, in Zoom, I mean. Polls, as far as I figured out, exists in the paid version, okay? So I will say a few words. And again, on my Instagram, there is a short video on how to create polls, or if you need that, go and check. Polls will appear, if you have it, will appear here at the bottom of the screen. And you can create polls asking if they liked the lesson or not. Like the first lesson online, I asked my students, how did they feel? Actually, was it good? Was it better? And well, it wasn't the most horrible lesson, as you can see. Some people didn't even know whether they liked it or not. So what you can do, you can also ask question here, you know, let's say some grammar question, and then give them options, and they need to choose the correct translation, or they need to find the mistake, and you offer variants. You can also have polls that have only yes/no questions, so like choose between two, or like one answer question. This is a multiple answer question where you can choose whatever you want. Something similar to what you did at the beginning, actually. So Zoom offers that. Okay, then, okay, let me look at the chat. Is there an opportunity to display the picture of text and play the sound at the same time in Zoom? Technically, yes. The picture can be seen from a share screen option, and audio can be played just on your computer. However, from my experience, the sound may not be that good. So what you can do, you can play through screen share and let them open the text on their own devices. They can open the text and listen from your computer. Then this one would probably work. Okay. Then I promised to mention the ID number of the conference. This is what actually you need it for. So if you go to zoom.com, at the top you will see this you know, button saying join the conference or something like this. And when you hit that button, you will see this window. So you don't need a link here, right? You need basically numbers. So for this reason, your students might need a number, like ID number for your conference. Also, I had this situation with my student. I sent the link to Zoom, and I was super happy. I created it in advance in my WhatsApp chat. So all students received it. They were all online. One girl was texting in WhatsApp, like, send me the ID. And I didn't understand what she wanted, because I said, here is the link. And she was saying, I cannot follow the link because it's on WhatsApp and I'm on my computer. So she couldn't use the link. She needed the number. Though some people do have WhatsApp on their computers. It's all other story. But the ID will help them to enter from any device, okay? Okay. Now, the site that I'm going to talk about next is this one. So if you have any more questions on Zoom, please ask them, okay? If anything else. Any questions on Zoom anymore? So some people are saying they have sound problems. They can't hear students well. Background noise. Well, I don't know how to help you with this one, because, well, you can ask your students to do something with that. Maybe adjust the volume. Maybe it depends on their computer settings as well. So I don't think it's the Zoom thing. And cheating the Google for answers. Well, on the good side, they know how to Google. Well, it's a good skill that people might need, students might need. And if you don't want them to cheat, maybe give them tasks that cannot be Googled, maybe. So quite difficult to say here. Maybe discuss, if, I don't know who you're teaching, if these are teens, talk to them, like, guys, why do we need to cheat? I'll give you time to check answers later, try to think yourself, do it, and then check with your partner. So maybe give them some, let them feel confident that if they make mistakes, it's still fine. So I would probably answer in this way, okay? So if more questions about Zoom appear, I'll be happy to answer later, okay? So digital teacher. This is a huge site that gives you lots and lots of resources. So let's have a look closer what it offers. So it's from Cambridge Assessment English, and yeah, the next slide. So you can start with the framework, evaluating your needs and trying to figure out how well how good you are with digital learning and how digital you are actually. Then there are a lot of things under the training section that help you to develop your digital skills. But what I would recommend here is the section on project reviews. Project reviews gives you different resources that you can use online with different ages. So I haven't even tried all of them yet. That's why I was saying that probably it's a good idea to start slowly and not try to use everything in the first weeks. So you can see Zoom here, Chatterpix, a lovely site that helps to create talking pictures, like you take a picture of an animal and then you make it speak. A few others here, I'm still on my way to try them out. I know some people are using Socrative. I think it's pronounced this way. So they like it, so check it out, okay? What also they have? Padlet, Storybird, lyrics training. I know some people who use that. WordWall, this is the one I mentioned earlier. As for Padlet, I do use it a lot. I use it with my university students. Padlet offers you the possibility to post everything online and keep it there. So all the resources, videos or links or presentations or texts, you put there in a certain order, and students can access those materials. I like it. So Padlet, if you've never tried, maybe you can have a look. So different materials here from Digital Teacher, okay? So some people are saying they like Padlet. Right, that's good. Okay, let me look at the chat again. For the breakout rooms, you need to change the settings. Yes, that's true. But again, you need to check whether you do have breakout rooms in the first place, because some people were saying that in the free option, free Zoom, you don't have them. So yes, and if you do have them, you need to, in the basic settings, you need to put a tick saying that yes, I want that, and yes. Oh no, sorry, I'm talking about polls now. Breakout rooms, I think everyone has those. Yes, and you do need, yeah, sorry, got confused. So I have problems with the start. Every day Zoom claims that I've forgotten the password, makes me create a new one. I don't know how to answer this question because I've never had this problem. The only maybe thing that is happening is that too many people now are using Zoom and turning to Zoom all over the world. It's not only Russia. My colleagues abroad are doing this. So there is a huge overload on Zoom. So some technical problems might appear, I should say. You have questions about the presentation. Yeah, I will send, yeah, I think you will get the presentation, sure. Okay, another question. Is there any option for students to find a partner from other countries for speaking online? Oh, that's a very good question. There should be some resources. I cannot answer, just right now. But yeah, that's a very good question. Maybe if some people know from our participants, they can share in the chat, okay? I don't know right now. Probably there are some resources. Okay, let's move on because there are a few things I want to mention more. So this site, this online resource, penfriends.cambridgeenglish.org, this is for reading and mostly writing. So PenFriends is quite popular among teachers in several schools that I know. And the whole idea here is that you register as a school, you find a partner school somewhere in the world, and you exchange writings. So your students write something, students of that school write something, and you exchange letters. And I think this is a very nice thing to do, and this is how you can communicate. It's not speaking, right, what you asked about, but it's exchanging notes, cards, postcards. And I know some teachers have tried it, so it's good, okay? So PenFriends. Another resource that is highly recommended is Learning English. You can follow this, start searching from cambridgeenglish.org, or you can basically Google it, learning English, and then you will find this. Learning English also is a very big resource that is aimed at developing all 4 skills. So it's for speaking, reading, writing, and listening. And it has this page where you can use the filters, and you can put ticks of what level material for what level you need. You can set the timing here, you can choose the skill you're working on, and then you will have materials aimed at your learners. Okay, so you have different things for different purposes, and I'm not saying these materials should substitute your course book, but it could be a supplementary one. Videos can be used for homework, and some readings here, vocabulary exercises, vocabulary and grammar exercises can be done online. So some things can be for homework, some things can be used in class, okay? And because there is different time length here, I think you can decide how to use it depending on this as well. It's also good for exam preparation. Don't forget that our learners still need to take exams at some point, right? And if you're preparing for Cambridge exams, this is a very nice resource for that. For Write and Improve, now this one, Write and Improve, it's something similar to Grammarly.com if you're using this, but Write and Improve is mostly aimed at students, not researchers or PhD students, So students who are learning English, and those who need to practice writing skills. It's good for your everyday, work, because we do teach writing skills. However, it's I would say it's better, and it works better for exam preparation, for FC level when they need to write, quite big texts. And students get instant feedback depending on the level. And in the past, the program was built only to give feedback on lower levels. Now it gives feedback on higher levels as well. So it's great. You can create assignments and workbooks there. You can collect the information from different students and have your class profile, save the information there. And it looks something like this. So your students create a text, they put it in. So basically write it there. And they have a feedback with saying that maybe the spelling is not correct, right? And maybe you meant something different. Then your learners rewrite it, improve it, and get another feedback. So try this one. Now, a few things about listening. This resource is mainly for B1, B2 levels. It's called Virtually Anywhere. It's a series of listening episodes of different length, but I think all of them are under 10 minutes, so like 5-7-ish minutes. And it's very well done. And apart from listening itself, they also provide lesson plans with teachers' notes. So you can look at lesson plans and think how you can implement this audio and how you can use it for your lesson or for homework as additional listening exercise. So every episode has its own sort of topic, and if especially you do exam preparation, this could be an interesting variant to add something to your list of materials you use. So Virtually Anywhere. It's easy to find it through Google. Basically write Virtually Anywhere and it will guide you to the resource, to the site, okay? Finally, things that some of my students like. One thing, an app. And my colleagues actually like it as well. It's called Exam Lift. It's an app for free, which you can download. And it is for B1 preliminary for school learners. It gives you practice online. No, not online, wrong word. So it gives you practice in the app. Okay, and you can train every day. As far as I understood, it's a pilot project. It's quite new, and I don't know all the options yet. I'm trying it, but I know that you like every day there is a new sort of activity that opens up. So you do something this day, and then you do something else next day, and it kind of opens up slowly. So exam lift for B1 students and preliminary exam. If you don't do exam and your learners are B1, they still can try this as additional practice. And from my experience, teens like apps, right? So why not to try it with your teenagers? Okay, for young learners, I'm sure you're familiar with this one, worldofFun.cambridge.org. World of Fun is a huge hub with different resources for learners of different levels and ages. Here, it's all devised according to the exam level, so you see starters, movers, and flyers. If you don't do exams, it doesn't matter. You still can choose materials from here. You can have some videos, some games, worksheets, different cards to print. So World of Fun is for young learners, and if you don't know it yet, it's a good idea to check it out. And also teaching tips there. Okay, so you might want to check this. Okay, so a few more things, and then I will address your questions, okay? This resource, weekly, it is specifically for exam preparation. If you do any of the Cambridge exams at, well, A2, B1, B2 levels, you can plan the preparation time and time management for this with your student. So you see this box here, you choose an exam, you choose the number of weeks that are available, whether it's coming soon or you have more time, and then you put down the amount of time that your students are willing to spend weekly. And what you get a planner for every week, and you see that there are some exam samples here, there is some writing, listening, some other skills for the weeks you've chosen. And under each section, you will see a lot of materials with PDF and lesson plan, which you can download. Again, it's meant originally for the exam, but if you know that your students are B1, or you know that they might be thinking about exams in future, you still can use this material as the supplementary one for your main course or for future. Maybe also you can find some things here for their homework and self-study, you know, depends on how motivated your learners are. So that was weekly. Don't forget also about the main site, I've mentioned it several times already, which is cambridgeenglish.org. and Cambridge English TV. So this is a YouTube channel from Cambridge, and there are all the videos from all exams, the speaking exams, right? You can go and check the examples, and you can find the description of you know, speaking exams, like the assessment and the results in some of them. Cambridge English TV also provides webinars, not exactly webinars, but like some online recorded webinars on different topics for your, that might help you in your teaching, you know, development and career. Yes, this is it. Yeah, the whole idea is slow down, okay? Slow down, there are many things. Thank you very much. If there are more questions, I'm happy to answer those. These are my contacts. So you can find me online. You can find me on Instagram. You can email me, but I'm more active on Instagram. There are a few videos that I uploaded on Zoom, polls in Zoom, and word clouds. And let me have a look what questions maybe we still have here. Okay, there is a question, what else is applicable to young learners except Zoom? Well, Hangman, as I said, you can play with them. World of Fun should be very nice. You can try to do word cloud when they give you the words and you write them and they see the words floating, you know, on your screen. They might like it. As I said, this is not specifically meant for young learners, but some things can be adapted. Absolutely, for sure, the will with for speaking. Just don't write the text in it, put the pictures, right? So I think it works too. Yeah, I think that's like most from what I said. Okay, how efficient are your online lessons compared compared to regular classes? Well, I don't know. I hope they are still efficient. It's difficult to compare. Probably we should ask my learners whether they feel they are learning something. But with time, and because it's my third week already, I see they're more motivated, and I see that I'm slowly starting to understand what they like and what I can give more. And there are things that didn't work for some groups and things that worked for others. So I just try to follow this, and I do not try to use every single app and every single resource because it's simply impossible. So I hope it's still quite efficient. I don't know. Thank you. Thank you too. Thank you for being here. Right. Are there any free resources to give students OGE and YIGE tests? I'm not a specialist here at all, so I wouldn't lie. I don't know. I found something online, but I don't know. No, straight away, unfortunately, can't help you here. Again, if colleagues can share something in our chat, that would be great. But that's not my specialism. Okay. Thank you. So if there are no more questions, okay, I will wait for a few minutes. Well, I wish you good lessons. I wish you a good day today and more lessons in future. And if you want to share your experience with these online things, please do. That would be nice to hear from you. Okay, there is a question. How can, it keeps disappearing, how can we integrate the course book printed version into Zoom? Well, what I do, I have online versions of, let's say, I use some Eyes Open 4, which is Cambridge book, and I have LMS, which is like online resource, so there are lots of materials online. My students have the paper version of the book, and I add more materials based on this book. Book is still the core. I haven't forgotten about the books. No, we do have the course books. So if there are some exercises there, they simply open the book and do those. So it's a combination, I would say. Yeah, like with, you know, it's something similar to what you do in class with handouts when you have doing, well, you do something and then there are extra sort of papers coming in and they use them and then they switch to something else. The same here. They can do something online, look at the screen, that look in the book, then back to the screen. So I don't see any problem here. Okay, about certificates, I guess you will get the certificates by email. Macmillan Foxford for YIGE. So you see people are sharing. Thank you very much. Many thanks. Well, many thanks for coming. That was nice to have you today. Okay, let me see. Maybe I missed some questions. Oh, some people already are using Lift. Nice. That is great. That is great. Thank you. Okay. So find me online. If more questions appear, please do ask. Okay. So maybe I've forgotten something. Maybe I, well, obviously there are more things, but the more you try, the more, you know, techniques and tips you can find on Zoom and not only on Zoom. So I've shared the basics for you to start from, and I hope you will develop more and more. And also, please do share with your insights, okay, when you use these materials. Okay, so I think we'll be finishing then. Thank you very much, and have a nice day, everyone. I'll see you somewhere else someday later. Okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.